So, one of the ways to approach problem solving or when you're trying to improve something in your life is to step back and say, well, if this was my friend, how would I advise that person to proceed? Um, and hopefully you are friendly with yourself, by the way. But sometimes stepping back and being like, okay, if I was coming in from the outside, what would I say? Now, in business, one experiment you can run is okay, if I was purchasing my business, in other words, if I was purchasing the business from me, if you will, if somebody else had the business that I currently have and I was wanting to buy it, what would I want to see in that business in order for me to want to buy it? Okay. And it can be a good way to kind of tune up, how you are running your business. If you have pricing that's all over the map, or lots of inefficiencies. Maybe you've got people in the wrong seats. They're the wrong people. If you were to, if somebody else came out from the outside and looked at it, they would say that person should not be in that seat. But because for whatever emotional reasons you've kept them there, any number of things like this that if you came from the outside, you look at it and you say, okay, this shouldn't be that way. This should be changed. And yet, because it's you're looking at it, you're on the inside, it's easy to not make those needed changes. Um, so one of the things I'm looking at potentially doing with my business is standardizing my pricing. Now you say, well, of course, why would any business have standard pricing? And that's a very valid point. Now, in my case, I have tended to let the size of the business have some impact, what I think the future holds as far as do I really want to be a part of this business long term and for their marketing, and just different factors like that I've kind of taken into account of like, well, what's the right price that would get this deal done and would provide the right kind of opportunity for me. And so currently my pricing really is all over the map. And while some of it's probably in a good range, there's probably a number of clients that are going to need to pay more if they want to stay with me. And it's not necessarily fun, to raise prices, but raising prices is one of those things that, often people after they acquire a business, or they come in as an investor, that's one of the first things they might do is like, look, hey, we could raise prices. And it's one of the fastest ways to add profitability to a business. And, and that kind of thing. Now, of course, the thing about pricing is not just about internally selecting, not just internally influencing how profitable you can be. Now, it's very important, but that's not the only thing. Pricing also has a selection effect on your clients. So, if you price your product like a Hyundai, how do you say that? And then you will tend to attract clients who are interested in that type of product and pricing. Now, there may be the occasional sort of odd scenario where you can provide Cadillac service at Hyundai pricing, but generally that's not all that sustainable, or especially not scalable. And so, whereas if you charge Cadillac type pricing, or Cadillac is maybe a bit of a grandpa brand at this point, but you get the idea. Yeah, you're going to attract a different kind of buyer. Now, you could say, well, that it can also affect the quantity of buyers, right? So they're probably, when you talk about, I don't know what the sales numbers are, but I'm pretty sure Hyundai sells a lot more cars than what BMW does in the U.S. And so there's also a quantity issue to think about. There's not. I'm not a universal proponent of high prices. Let's put it that way. Okay, I don't believe necessarily that everybody needs to be charging high prices. I think it depends on what's the value that you want to bring to the market. Is the value that it's a low cost item and gets the job done. Like it's just good enough, and it's a very low price. Like that is an acceptable business model if you have the efficiency on the back end to be profitable, and it can allow some businesses to become very large based on that model. This is kind of going to the maybe to some of the principles taught by Richard Koch, and then there's the other side of it, which is more the sort of Apple approach, if you will, which is make the experience so simple that people are willing to pay a premium for it. So maybe I should make another video on that. But anyway, remember the overall idea here is when you're trying to improve your company or improve something in your life, think about what would you do if this was somebody else's business? How would you advise them to proceed? What would they need to do for it to be a business that you would want to buy? Good chance that those things that you can see as an outsider that you should change, that you should go ahead and change them as an insider.